Okay, let's dive in. Imagine this. What if everything you thought you knew about, well, getting ahead, about security, money, even why you're here, what if it was all part of some larger plan? A plan maybe not for your freedom, but for your obedience.
That's a powerful hook, and it's really the core of what Robert Kiyosaki talks about, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into today. We're looking at his central idea that the places meant to help us, schools, jobs, even how we were raised, are actually part of this. He calls it a silent training program.
And not a program designed to make you rich or free, he argues. Quite the opposite, actually.
Right. He says it's designed to make you obedient, dependent, and afraid to step out of line. Pretty strong stuff.
It really is.
So our mission today is to unpack that. How did the system get built? Why? And crucially, what are Kiyosaki's ideas on how you, the listener, can start to break free from it?
If you've ever felt like you're just, running in place or the rules about money don't quite make sense,
then stick. Because what we're going to explore could really change how you see, well, everything. Your money, your time, your future, maybe even how you look back at things. Let's get into it.
it's fascinating. He traces this conditioning way back to school. He argues basically that from day one, the main lesson isn't really about thinking outside the box. It's about compliance above all else.
Think about it, right? Sit still, raise your hand, memorize this, obey that. Don't ask too many questions, just follow the steps, repeat.
Exactly. And he makes this pretty bold claim about why. He says, look, this system wasn't built to create, visionaries or revolutionaries.
No, he says it was designed like an old factory, modeled after the 19th century Prussian system.
Right. And the goal there was pretty clear. Produce efficient workers, not really free thinkers.
So in education, Kiyosaki says, that teaches you how to be an employee, not an entrepreneur.
Which immediately brings up the question, okay, so why don't they teach us about money? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you spend, 12, 16 years learning algebra, chemistry, history. Great stuff. But Kiyosaki points out, nobody teaches you how to manage your own money.
And his answer is blunt. He says, teaching people how money works would give them power.
And power, well...
Power threatens the system, the established order,
Yeah.
Banks, corporations, governments, maybe they benefit if we're not financially savvy.
So the training we do get pushes us to chase security. You know the drill. Good grades, good job, work hard, be loyal, climb the ladder, hope for a pension.
But Kiyosaki just slams the brakes on that. He calls it a dead model.
Yeah, I mean, look around. Pensions, disappearing, job security. Kind of a myth these days for a lot of people, and inflation is just eating away at savings.
But the programming, the mindset, it sticks, doesn't it? He uses that image. Mice running a maze, not realizing the cheese is gone.
You can follow all the old rules, do everything right, and still feel completely stuck. He says that's not an accident.
And if you pull back, it really comes down to fear, doesn't it? He says we're conditioned to fear failure, to think mistakes are terrible.
That risk is bad, that playing it safe is the only way to succeed.
But here's his warning. The more a person seeks security, the more that person gives up control over their life.
And isn't that what happens? People trade their time, their energy, maybe even their dreams, all for that paycheck. They kind of squash their own instincts and ideas just to fit in.
He calls that survival, not freedom, a huge difference.
Okay, so school sets up the maze. Then Kiyosaki points to media as the thing that keeps the walls up but makes them sort of invisible.
Yeah, it's this constant flood, isn't it? Distraction, entertainment. But he argues it rarely educates in the ways that matter for freedom. We're just surrounded by screens from day one, feeding us this carefully managed picture of reality.
And what's that picture usually designed to do?
Well, often it's designed to make you feel like you're not enough, right? Not rich enough, not successful enough, not good looking enough, maybe not even safe enough.
And the solution that's always whispered or sometimes shouted:
consume, buy this, watch that, believe this, just stay distracted.
Kiyosaki really hammers this point. Media isn't just information, it's a tool of control.
Yeah, he says it doesn't even need to tell you what to think. It just needs to make sure you never really stop to think about the big stuff anyway.
Wow. Okay, but the conditioning, it goes even deeper, he argued, right into our homes, our families.
Your family, even with the best intentions, he says, is often your first source of limitation.
Think about the messages many of us heard growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that.
Just be grateful you have a job. People like us don't get rich. Sound familiar?
Yeah. And Kiyosaki says, look, these aren't necessarily facts. They're belief, passed down like old furniture.
Inherited without really questioning them, right?
Yeah.
Shaped by generations who maybe faced war or scarcity or just struggled to survive.
And he says maybe what they knew, what they believed, maybe it was wrong, or at least maybe it's just outdated now.
And this is where he brings in that powerful contrast between his two dads. His biological dad, educated, loyal employee, believed in security.
The poor dad mentality, as he calls it.
Right, versus his friend's dad, his rich dad, who taught him completely different things about assets, liabilities, financial freedom.
One dad played by the rules.
And the other one learned how to create his own rules.
And Kiyosaki's point, which can be a bit tough to hear, is that most of us were raised with that poor dad mentality.
Taught to be good workers, obedient, quiet, predictable.
And why predictable?
Because, he argues, predictable people are easy to control. And control, in this system, is like the real currency.
So if you've ever held back on a dream because it didn't seem practical, or downplayed your ambitions, or stayed in a job you hated just because it felt safe,
Kiyosaki would say, that's not just you, that's the conditioning showing up. You were trained to avoid risk, seek approval, measure your worth by how productive you are for someone else.
even the daily grind, right? Wake up early, long hours, ask permission to take time off. He says if you look closely, it can almost mirror the life of a, well, domesticated animal.
And here's the kicker, he argues. It's reinforced. They give you just enough comfort to keep you quiet.
The steady-ish paycheck, the streaming shows, the apps on your phone, the credit card that gives you the illusion of having money.
Exactly. It's all designed, in his view, to keep you from rattling the bars of the cage.
But behind that facade, Kiyosaki observes, so many people are just struggling, anxious, buried in debt, feeling disconnected from any real purpose, stuck in routines they never consciously chose.
Yeah. He says the system feeds you just enough to keep you alive, but never enough to make you truly free, which leads to his big question.
Who benefits from you not understanding money? Because he insists someone definitely does.
Right. Your lack of financial know-how. Well, it feeds the banks with interest payment. It feeds corporations when you buy stuff impulsively. It feeds employers who can rely on your fear of losing that paycheck.
Ignorance, in this view, is profitable for someone else. You're taught to fear being poor, but not really taught how to build wealth.
Taught to chase success, but maybe not define it for yourself. Taught to follow authority, but not really question who gave them that authority, especially over your finances.
Okay, let's talk about that word, security. It sounds so good, doesn't it? Steady job, insurance, retirement plan, maybe the house.
It sounds like the goal.
Yeah.
But Kiyosaki flips that script completely.
Yeah, he has a really provocative take. He argues that very thing, that security, the steady paycheck, the predictable path that can actually be just another.
Security is not the same as freedom, he said. And often, maybe security becomes the very thing that keeps them enslaved. How?
Well, you get the job, you make some money, and then what usually happens?
Debt. Credit cards start appearing. Car loan. Then the big one, the mortgage. Your life gets built around servicing these payments.
You become dependent on that income stream, not just for food and shelter, but to keep up this lifestyle that society, maybe the media, maybe your neighbors kind of expect.
And with every new payment, every obligation, you become a little less free, right? Less free to quit that job you hate, less free to speak your mind, definitely less free to take a risk on something new.
Kiyosaki calls debt the most common form of voluntary slavery in the modern world. Harsh words.
Very. But his point is, it promises access, maybe the good life, but what it often delivers is dependent. It locks you in.
And he points to student loans as a prime example, encouraging young people to take on huge debt loads before they even start earning.
Ensures they're already trapped right out of the gate, he argues, starting their working lives already deep in the hole.
Okay, then there are taxes. This is a big one for him.
Huge. He basically says the rich don't pay taxes the same way the poor and middle class do. Why? Because they understand the rule. Or maybe they help make.
They use things like corporations, they understand the tax code, they invest in assets that come with deductions or let them defer taxes.
Meanwhile, what happens to most people?
You work a job, the tax comes right off the top, and you get what's left. You're basically punished for earning income in his.
While the people building businesses or acquiring assets get tax break, it seems backwards, doesn't it?
It certainly challenges the common narrative. And then there's the silent killer.
Ah, yes. The invisible tax, the silent thief. You put money in the bank thinking you're being safe, responsible.
But every year, that money buys less. Its purchasing power just erodes. You work harder, maybe get a raise, but you still feel like you're falling behind.
And Kiyosaki insists this isn't an accident. It's not like the system is broken. He says it's functioning exactly as intended.
Meaning the design itself favors certain groups over others.
That's the implication. It funnels wealth and power. The wealthy tend to own assets, real estate, stocks, businesses that often rise with inflation or even faster.
While the poor and middle class are more likely to hold cash or savings, which lose value over time.
So if you boil down his contrasting approaches,
It's like you're taught to save money. The rich are taught to use money.
you're told to avoid debt. The rich are taught how to use good debt to build wealth.
You're told to find a job. The rich are taught to create them. Big differences.
And he often repeats that mantra. It's not how much money you make, It's how much money you keep.
How hard it works for you and how many generations you keep it for.
But most people, he says, are just too busy trying to survive, just trading their time for money day in, day out, to even stop and ask those kinds of questions.
It comes back to knowledge and control, doesn't it? When was the last time you really felt in control of your finance, making decisions from a place of vision, not just reacting out of fear?
Yeah. He argues the system doesn't want you asking those deep questions. It wants you focused on the next bill, the next deadline, the next small raise. Keep your head down.
Okay, this sounds pretty bleak, but here's where Kiyosaki offers a way out. The good news, he says, starts with awareness.
Exact. Awareness is the first step out of the maze. It just begins with questioning the script you've been handed down.
Asking yourself, why do I believe what I believe about? Who told me a 9-to-5 is the only safe? Who convinced me that carrying debt is just normal?
You weren't born thinking these things, he argues. You were trained to believe them. Remember what his rich dad supposedly said?
The poor and the middle class work for money.
The rich make money work for them.
So why isn't this stuff taught everywhere if it's so crucial?
Well, think about it. A population that really understands how money works, how wealth is built, maybe that's dangerous.
Dangerous to whom?
Dangerous to the institutions, banks, governments, big corporations that you could argue profit from financial dependence and maybe even ignorance.
Which is why Kiyosaki insists financial education is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. You have to unlearn before you can relearn.
You have to question before you can wake up. He has that great line. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't know you're in.
And it makes a distinction, right? Financial education is key for wealth, but he says true freedom comes from mental education, changing how you think.
Absolutely.
Right.
He talks about the 4 types of people in the world of money. You've got employees, E, self-employed, S, business owners, B, and investors.
And most people are on the left side, E or S, trading time directly for money.
Right. But he argues true freedom lies in the last 2, B and I, where you build systems or acquire assets that generate income for you, whether you're actively working or not.
So what stops people from moving from E or S over to B or I?
One word, mainly fear. Fear of failing, fear of losing money, fear of what other people will think.
But Kiyosaki reframes failure completely.
He does. He says, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Think about it. Every successful entrepreneur, every wealthy investor, they all have stories of losses, setbacks, risks that didn't pan out.
The difference is they weren't trained just to obey the rules and avoid mistakes at all costs.
They were trained, or they trained themselves to think, to learn from mistakes, and to keep going.
And his message is really empowering here. You can retrain your own mind too.
It starts, again, with questioning everything. Why do I believe I need a job to survive? Is owning a house always the best investment? Why do I feel guilty if I want more than just enough?
Who put those ideas in my head? He says they were installed, basically. And now?
It's time to hit uninstall.
It all comes back to mindset. You cannot build a rich life on a poor mindset, he says.
Your mind is your greatest asset. Train it well. Feed it new ideas. Surround yourself with people who are living intentionally, by design, not by default.
Replace some of that passive entertainment with active education. Read books, listen to discussions like this, learn skills.
And fundamentally grasp his core concepts, like the difference between an asset and a liability.
Which isn't always taught the way he defines it. For him, an asset
Puts money in your pocket, period. A liability.
takes money out of your pocket.
Simple, right? But think about the implication. That house you live in, the one with the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, upkeep,
By his strict definition, if it's not generating income for you, it's actually a liability. It's consuming your resources, maybe even your freedom.
exact. He pushes focus towards real assets that create cash. Things like rental properties that bring in more than they cost, businesses that run without you, intellectual property like books or courses, dividend-paying stock, things that work for you.
But more than the specific asset, it's the mindset shift, isn't it?
Totally. It's the mindset of ownership, of leverage, of creation. Obedient minds wait for instructions. Empowered minds look for opportunities or create them.
And this requires that crucial shift from consumption to creation.
Yeah. Don't just consume the news. Try to understand the systems behind it. Don't just complain about inflation. Learn how people hedge against it.
Don't just settle for the job.
Start building something of your own, even if it's tiny to start. A side project, investing a small amount regularly, learning a high-income skill you can use independently. The goal is to move from being just a piece in someone else's machine to being the creator of your own.
Because the wealthy, as he says,
Don't work for money, they make money work for them. And this isn't magic, it's knowledge applied over time. And he truly believes anyone can do it.
you don't need special permission or a fancy degree or rich parents necessarily.
You need the will to think differently, to challenge the conditioning.
And that, Kiyosaki argues, is the real rebellion. It's not about anger or tearing things down. It's about awareness.
And creation, building something better for yourself, you reclaim your freedom with every conscious financial choice, every investment in your learning, every time you pick courage over comfort.
So the questions to ask yourself now are, what am I building? What am I creating that will actually outlast my own labor? What systems am I putting in place so I don't have to trade my time for money forever?
So you've now kind of seen the maze maybe for the first time. You've walked these paths laid out by school, by media, by fear, by debt, and maybe you're realizing, hey, wait a minute, these weren't my paths.
And that realization, Kiyosaki says, that's the first taste of freedom.
But awareness is just the start, right? It's not enough on its own.
Exactly. Now comes the action. And it's important to stress, his teachings aren't really about greed, are they? It's more about empowerment, because money is a powerful...
And like any tool, you are either controlled by money or you learn how to control it. There isn't much middle ground in his view.
Which leads to that central provocative idea he puts out there.
You were not a mouse. You were never a mouse. You were trained to believe you were, but the training ends today, if you choose for it to end.
And the journey, well, it really just starts now. Because even when you see the maze, the world doesn't just let you walk out easily.
Oh, no. Friends, family, the media, the culture, they'll all try to pull you back into the old ways of thinking. They'll test your new resolve.
You'll feel tempted to play small again, to doubt yourself, just to fit back in. But Kiyosaki reminds us, you always have a choice.
You can live the life someone else designed for you, or you can start creating your own.
So the challenge is out there. Read the books they didn't assign in school. Ask the questions they told you were impolite or inappropriate. Take the risks they warned you were too dangerous.
Because maybe, just maybe, on the other side of that fear, on the other side of that risk, is your real life waiting.
You weren't put here just to be obedient or to struggle or merely survive. Kiyosaki would argue you were born to create, to grow, to lead, to wake up.
And the real you, the bold, the free, the powerful you, well, that starts now.